Hello everybody, it's Alex and I'm back with another episode of my show, Thursday with Alex. I hope you missed it. Today we're going to talk about money and I'd like to start with a question. Do you know what a shoestring or a shoelace has to do with money? Keep watching to find out. Now right here it says Southeast England on a shoestring. And it means that you can travel very inexpensively and save money with the rail card, apparently. I should get one for myself. So anyway, you can say on a shoestring or a shoestring budget, and it means a low budget, a tight budget, not using a lot of money. But where does the idiom come from? Let's dig into that. So just to clear it up, a shoestring is an old-fashioned word for a shoelace. So with that out of the way, I found two theories of where the idiom might have originated from. First one has to do with the early 20th century and immigrants to New York City. Apparently, they were very poor and all they had were shoelaces or shoestrings that they could trade for other things, other goods and food. And based on that, there's this phrase on a shoestring budget, meaning on a very limited and tight budget. According to another theory, the expression on a shoestring comes from prisons. Namely, it says that prisoners use their laces or shoestrings to dangle their shoes outside the window so that the passers-by could toss in some spare change. So, how do we use the expression these days? It's very commonly used about film. For instance, the film was made on a shoestring or in a shoestring budget, meaning that its budget was very low, limited. Can you think of any examples of films like that? Another example could be that in the early years, the business was run on a shoestring. And for instance, you can run a program on a shoestring, or it operates on a shoestring.
And it was done remarkably cheaply, on a shoestring, basically.
A lot of filmmakers, especially the independent ones that are, making a movie on a shoestring budget, they can...
20 years, they operated on a shoestring budget.
So as you've gathered, something you do on a shoestring helps you save money. And you can describe the thing that helps you do so as economical. Now you can say both economical or economical, but be sure to stress, to make two stresses in the word, economical, economical. Don't confuse it with economic or economic, which has to do with the country's economy, stuff like that, like economic crisis or economic policy. So, what can we describe as economical? Very popularly, cars can be described as economical. For instance, a hybrid car is very economical. And I quite like the expression economical with the truth. It means that you don't tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Like you hold some things back. You don't, waste the truth, so to speak.
It may be more economical to keep a building than to tear it down and build a new.
So what he's saying is, if you want an economical car, buy a BMW M3.
I've said I'm 6 foot. I think I'm actually 5'11", but a bit of being economical with the truth doesn't hurt.
So it's interesting that for many, being economical with the truth is the very DNA of politics.
Now, how do we describe people who don't like sharing, don't like spending money, and maybe take it to extremes? One popular word is stingy. It's an informal word for both British and American English, and it means not generous, not willing to share. For example, Bob is really stingy. He never pays for anybody's drinks when we go out. Now, we can also say that Bob is tight or tight-fisted. He doesn't want to pay for anybody.
And it's not that they're ungenerous or they're narcissistic or they're stingy.
Apple is notoriously stingy with their software, so there's no way to access FaceTime from a non-Apple device.
Now there's also a word mean, which is supposed to mean not willing to share, not generous in British English. But in reality, I've never heard anyone use it in this sense anymore. So I strongly suspect that it's becoming old-fashioned. So if you've heard people using it, maybe young people, right? Let me know. But it's increasingly used as a synonym to unkind, like, you know, like in American English, mean girls, right? Like sassy girls at school, or children can be really mean. Don't be so mean. That's a mean thing to say. So that basically means unkind. In American English, there's another word, cheap, to mean that you're not generous. Like, her boyfriend's so cheap, all he got her for her birthday was a birthday card.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client has been called cheap, miserly, and chronically tight-fisted.
Look above his head. He's so cheap he won't even put a second coat of paint on the wall.
So that characteristic of not wanting to spend a lot of money can have a positive angle to it as well. And in that case, we say that people are thrifty, or frugal. And it means that they're careful with money, they spend wisely, and they avoid wasting it. That brings to mind the idea of a thrift shop in the US. I'm gonna pop some tags, only got $20 in my pocket. And a charity shop in the UK, where you can buy clothes for very affordable prices, and that money then goes to charity. And more examples for thrifty and frugal. Germans are known to be a very thrifty and hard-working nation. He built up his savings by being very frugal. Now, people who are thrifty or frugal usually tend to save for a rainy day. When you save something for a rainy day, you put some money aside or something else aside to use it later when you are in need.
And I'm a thrifty practical American, so I'm all about the couch.
The ancient Egyptians were very thrifty, so if a pot broke, they would save those pieces.
We were thrifty, and we had to focus on making sure we were saving enough.
And my mother was very frugal and very careful with money. Her motto was always save for a rainy day. And
rather than save for a rainy day, he went straight to the local store and tried to buy around $4,000 worth of candy.
Now, some people, unfortunately, are forced to be very thrifty and have a frugal lifestyle because they don't have any other choice and they can barely make ends meet. When you make ends meet, it means that you earn just enough to survive, to sustain your existence, to make a living. So make ends meet. A lot of families are struggling to make ends meet.
He was struggling to make ends meet on universal credit.
But what no one shows is it's difficult to make ends meet when all these temptations are thrown at our feet.
Do you want to be doing this for the rest of your working life just to make ends meet, or is it something you really enjoy and want to be doing?
The opposite of thrifty and frugal would be extravagant, and it means spending unnecessarily much, more than you have, more than you should. For example, some celebrities have a very extravagant lifestyle, or she's got very extravagant tastes. She wants very expensive stuff. And finally, he lives a very frugal lifestyle and considers taxes extravagant. So which side are you on? Do you have extravagant tastes and habits, or do you live a frugal lifestyle and you try to be thrifty?
My most extravagant habit is I eat out all the time because I live alone and I don't have an oven. So it is extravagant, but I do it, and I go to a cafe every morning for my breakfast. The other extravagance, I'm a dry cleaning freak.